Occasionally in the world of popular music, a musician's instrument becomes almost as famous as its player. One legendary example is Paul McCartney's Hofner violin bass, an iconic symbol of the Beatles' legacy. The Beatle bass, Paul's cherished original Hofner bass guitar, vanished under mysterious circumstances more than 5 decades ago and has not been seen since. The Beatles' original bass player, Stuart Sutcliffe, left the band in 1961 to pursue his career as an artist and painter. Obviously, you can't play rock and roll without bass guitar. John Lennon and George Harrison had no interest in switching from electric guitar to bass, so McCartney agreed to fill Stewart's vacancy. The boys were unknown and still quite poor in those days, and Paul could not afford a Fender bass, which was the instrument of choice by most successful and famous bass players. McCartney saw the Hofner violin-style instrument in Hamburg's Steinway Musikhaus during one of their early pre-fame tours in Germany. Paul purchased the bass in 1961 for £30. That's the equivalent of about 37 American dollars. Being a left-handed guitar player, the symmetrical shape of the Hofner 501 was appealing to Paul, as the instrument has no right-handed cutaway, so it could be played by either a left or right-handed player. Paul used that Hofner in the days before the Beatles were famous, and subsequently on the Beatles' first couple of albums, Please Please Me and With the Beatles, which included early hits such as Twist and Shout, Love Me Do, and She Loves You. Those recordings brought the band instant fame. Paul continued to play that Hofner in the early days of their success. Of course, the Beatles went on to become a worldwide phenomenon, and the Hofner violin bass became known as the Beatle bass, bringing the Hofner 501 bass out of obscurity, no longer thought of as a budget beginner's instrument, but rather the bass that Paul McCartney used on all those amazing Beatles recordings and live concerts. A year or two later, the Beatles became the most famous musicians in the world, and the Hofner Company reveled in the newfound publicity. To show their appreciation, the company built an updated, custom version of the 5011 for Paul. The new bass became his go-to for the rest of the Beatles' career, along with his Rickenbacker 4001S. But his original Hofner bass traveled everywhere with him as his backup. The original was a treasured piece of nostalgia for Paul, and he still played it often. You can see it in the music videos for Revolution and The Ballad of John and Yoko, and it was featured in the film Let It Be, as well as the more recent version by Peter Jackson called Get Back. There have been several theories describing the Hofner disappearance. One commonly accepted story begins on April 10, 1969, when Paul McCartney and the rest of the Beatles were at Twickenham Studios in London, rehearsing for what would become their final album release, Let It Be. As the band took a break during the rehearsals, McCartney placed the Hofner bass in its usual spot. When he returned, the bass was gone. Paul frantically searched the studio, but it was nowhere to be found. Other accounts speculate that the bass had been taken back to EMI's Abbey Road studio for storage, maybe even returned to Apple headquarters on Savile Row. Many dozens of people had access to these areas, making the investigation challenging. Another account claims that soon after the Get Back Let It Be recording sessions, a theft occurred at EMI Studios. A closet that may have contained McCartney's 61 Hofner, plus George Harrison's Gretsch Tennessean in his second Rickenbacker 36012, was raided by an unknown assailant who walked out the front door with the priceless guitars. While there were no definitive leads at the time, several theories emerged. Some believe that an overzealous fan or collector had stolen the bass, driven by an obsession with acquiring a piece of Beatle history. Given that the theft likely occurred at Twickenham Studios, suspicions also fell on studio employees or visitors who may have had access to the instrument. However, there was no concrete evidence linking anyone to the theft. Another theory suggests that it might have been an inside job, orchestrated by someone with insider knowledge of the studio's layout, the security protocols. This possibility was explored but just never proven. In the chaos of the late 1960s, random theft was also considered a possibility. The instrument might have been taken without the thief fully realizing its true value until after the fact. In the age of the internet, social media has played a significant role in spreading the awareness of Paul's stolen bass. In 2019, Hofner's marketing manager, Nick Wass, started an online campaign designated to locating the missing bass. He used the hashtag #TraceTheBass, and he posted the following on Hofner's website. Someone somewhere knows what happened to this bass, and someone knows if it still exists and where it is now. This information is out there if only someone would provide it. We strongly believe that it is time for this bass to return to its owner, Paul McCartney, if it still exists. It is such an important instrument, we all deserve to see it again. So we offer the following to anyone who can positively give information about the bass. We would handle any information in total confidence. We do not need to know your identity if you prefer. We can collect the bass from anywhere. Total anonymity. No recriminations. No questions of authorities being involved. Paul McCartney himself has not given up the search for his beloved bass. Over the years, he's made public appeals and offered rewards for information leading to its recovery. Even though it's been more than 50 years since Macca's bass disappeared, law enforcement agencies have never officially closed the case. The hope is that advancements in technology, and even a possible change of heart by those who are involved in the theft, may one day bring the Hofner bass back into Paul McCartney's possession. Please help our channel grow by commenting, subscribing, sharing this video, and clicking the like button. And be sure to hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next episode of Mysteries, Legends, and Lies.